Americans ready for autonomous grocery delivery? Jeremy Michalek is professor of engineering and public policy at Carnegie Mellon University. Hi, Jeremy.
Hi.
Hey, so when we're talking about autonomous grocery delivery, what are we talking about? What does it look like right now?
Well, autonomous groceries could be delivered in a variety of ways. Putting them into an autonomous car that drives down the street and parks in front of your, like at the curb, and you come out to get it. That's something we can do right now. But we also
Mhm.
have sidewalk robots and even aerial delivery drones that can deliver smaller packages very quickly.
Mhm. Okay, sounds great, but to what extent is it actually happening today in somewhere in the United States? Is it a regular thing anywhere, or is it in demo mode, or is it here at all, or what?
Yeah, autonomous delivery does happen, but it's in pretty limited con controlled conditions now. What we were looking at in some of our studies is to understand as it becomes more widely available, how would consumers feel about it? Would they be
Mhm.
open to that? And the potential for these robots to deliver to a house kind of depend on the house. Do you live in a multi-unit dwelling? Do you have a porch? Those kinds of things. And so the ability of the robots to hit these different kinds of houses might change over time as the
Mhm.
robots get more capabilities.
Yeah, I want to talk to you more about the logistics of it in a minute, but just in terms of like customer sentiment at this point, level of acceptability, what feeling do you get? What did this survey tell you just about, how they feel about the idea of a package coming to their doorstep without a human being delivering it?
Well, the nice thing is that most consumers are totally indifferent. If the package
Mm,
makes it to the doorstep and it's quick and it's cheap, they either human or a robot is fine with them. However, a pretty healthy minority, about 45%, really prefer human. So
mhm,
they'd be willing to pay a few dollars more for a human to deliver it. That doesn't mean they're closed to the idea of a robot, but they prefer human, and that means the robot's got to be able to deliver some other value like speed or lower cost in order
mhm.
to make up that difference.
You call these folks delivery compromisers? Is that your
Yes,
phrase?
indeed.
Yeah,
That's right. Yes.
interesting. What are the economics of it? Is it always going to involve some kind of a fee to cover it, or for that matter, is it cheaper than a human doing it? I mean, what's the story there?
Yeah, that wasn't part of our study, and I don't think we fully know yet. It's going to depend because when autonomous robots or when robots are doing deliveries and they're being controlled telematically, by an operator, there's still some laborer. They're not in the car driving the package to you, but there's still labor costs involved. And
Hmm.
then there's, of course, costs of the equipment and maintenance and replacement and all of those things as well. So the cost wasn't part of our study here because we know that those things are going to be diverse and they're going to be changing over time.
Hmm.
But we wanted to find out is if the costs can come down enough, is there an opening here?
So it's still early days is exactly how that'll work. I mean, right. I mean, it
Yes.
could be cheaper, I guess, if you're not paying a person to do it once the technology is scaled, right? Possibility.
Yes. And at scale, you could have these operational benefits where, for example, you've got a fleet of these things all kind of optimally coordinating like what time to go to what locations, dropping off multiple packages on a single route, those kinds of things. There could be potential for a greater level of optimization than what you can do with people. So there could be some number of ways that there's cost savings.
Hmm. Okay, we talked about delivery compromisers. What about these folks called delivery enthusiasts? Who are they and what do they want?
So the delivery enthusiasts tend to be younger, live farther from grocery stores, and they have more children. I've
Mm,
experienced this myself with two kids at home, and during the pandemic, it was wow. I could not imagine dragging them to the grocery store, doing the protective gear and everything.
yeah.
So those delivery enthusiasts, they're very happy to pay for delivery. They value it highly, and whether it's a human or a robot is not the main issue for them. That they just want the convenience and want the speed.
Well, COVID-19 certainly converted a lot of people who otherwise wouldn't have considered it to the whole concept of grocery delivery, as you say. Uh, but
Indeed.
but once that concept is kind of there in front of you, then it's a question of how do you want that delivery to happen? And I guess really a consumer just cares about speed, reliability, and cost, as opposed to whether it shows up in the form of some kind of a robot or a human, right?
Certainly those enthusiasts do, but again,
Yeah.
that compromiser group, they're a little more sensitive to, a little more uncomfortable with robots.
Hmm.
That group tends to be a little older and a little higher income as
Right.
well.
Okay, you started to talk about where autonomous grocery delivery can best work. What is the kind of situation, a kind of city, rural, buildings, streets, suburbs, where this could actually make sense?
Mhm. Well, we focused primarily on urban, which is where we would see these kinds of deliveries happening first. And the types of customers that are most well suited are living a little further from the grocery store because that's where they see the value. You know, it's
Hmm.
very inconvenient, it takes a lot of time to drive out there. Um, and again, the families who have more children. And so if there's more value there, then that's where you could get over the threshold to pay for this service, whether it's a human or autonomous, to
Hmm.
have those groceries delivered to you.
And where it might make least sense, what kind of environment would that be?
Well, I think that when you get into farther rural areas where there's longer distances, so we did a study in Seattle, not a rural environment, but we did a study in
Yeah.
Seattle where we looked at delivery of groceries, either by autonomous or by humans. We actually found that delivering the groceries increases the amount of time vehicles are on the road, so it increases congestion unless you can do it all during off-peak hours. And that's because a lot of customers will stop at the grocery store on the way home from work, or they'll stop as part of a tour of errands that they're running.
Hmm.
And that's efficient. But when you replace it with a trip that's just to your house and back to the grocery store, even if it's delivering a few packages at once, you actually can make the matter worse. So these are the kinds of things that you need to balance when thinking about delivery from a social perspective is there's a convenience factor, but if you do it at the wrong time and in not an efficient way, you can make some things like congestion worse.
Yeah. Also, in terms of efficiency, you might have multiple orders within a few short blocks, and you want to make sure that one delivery truck is going to serve them all, which is not necessarily the case today. Do you think that autonomous delivery goes hand in hand with the ability to make those calculations so that you are maximizing the efficiency of the routes that you're serving at any given time?
Potentially, I mean, there's potential to do that with human delivery or with grocery delivery or with
Hmm.
autonomous delivery to try to coordinate those deliveries. Probably the bigger factor is being if customers are less sensitive to how quickly their groceries are delivered, if I'm able to wait a day or two, that could enable me to pool some orders that are in close proximity and do them all at once.
Hmm.
And we find that low income consumers are less sensitive to the delivery delay. So that might be an opportunity where you can deliver at lower cost more efficiently because you're able to have some consumers wait a day or two and then kind of pool the groceries together and get them all there efficiently at once.
Or if you're one of those consumers who can plan ahead, maybe you can schedule like a weekly delivery for multiple days. I'm not saying I'm one of those people, but there must be somebody out there who could do that. Right. So that
Yeah,
would help.
indeed. In fact, one of my concerns is the opposite problem where once delivery is so convenient, now instead of planning ahead and ordering for the week, I just
Mhm.
start having it delivered whatever I need that day, whatever occurs to me on a
Right.
whim, and then maybe we have a lot more congestion and more, vehicles moving around.
What about the technology, Jeremy? I imagine there's still more to be done in that area in order to perfect the model. Is that correct?
Well, we're agnostic to the technology and the kind of study we're doing here. As I mentioned, there's the sidewalk robots, there's the vehicles that drive to the curb, and there's aerial delivery from drones. But in the survey, we're just asking people about autonomous versus human without necessarily specifying. We just tell them where they're going to have to pick up their groceries, whether it's
Hmm.
at their doorstep or whether they need to walk to the curb. And I think the reality is that different technologies are going to fit different delivery scenarios better. Like a rapid delivery where you order a pizza or some fast food, that a drone could do that quite well because it flies direct point to point and it can carry something fairly light like that. Whereas an entire week's worth of groceries is too heavy for a typical drone. And so that's where you might want something on the roads that's delivering it to your door.
Hmm. Well, Jeremy Michalek of Carnegie Mellon, thank you for reporting to us on the results of this customer sentiment survey about autonomous grocery delivery and what kind of a future it might have going forward. Thank you very much
Thanks
for
so,
being with me today. Appreciate it.
thank you so much.